Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has produced by far one of the most complex, multi-layered bundles of characters I've ever seen in fiction. And for one such character who is constantly disregarded for her, admittedly, shall we say, showy design, underneath her harsh outer shell is a woman, a person who all her life has been treated so horribly and been so utterly traumatized, and yet through her story is able to find a reason to live and accept herself as she is with her flaws and all. I am of course talking about the Aegis, specifically its better half, or better third? Better fourth? Anyways, we're talking about Mythra. In this video, I will be taking the time to tackle every possible area of Mythra that I can, including her personal journey throughout the story of Xenoblade 2 and its DLC Torna, her character design, what her role in the story means for Xenoblade, as well as analyzing important cutscenes for her. This is the first video I've ever made deep diving so thoroughly into a character, but I felt this was necessary, as throughout the internet and especially outside of the Xenoblade fandom, Mythra's image is one tainted by very poor representation, to say the very least. Considering most people's knowledge only extends so far as her appearance alongside Pyra in Smash Bros. Ultimate, this video will serve as an extensive overview of Mythra's character and her personal story. In this video, I will be proving to you, the viewer, without a doubt as to why Mythra is the most complex character to grace a Xeno title. But first, let's address the big, hulking elephant in the room. Be warned, massive spoilers for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Torna the Golden Country ahead. And with that out of the way, let's dive into Mythra. So, Mythra's character design is one that is often chastised and mocked for being either too much or, in other cases, too little. And I'll explain both of the respective reasons as to why they're both wrong. Starting off, if we take a deeper look at Mythra, her design is reminiscent of an angel. Her flowing blonde hair along with the white outfit with the gold accents calls to a warrior from the heavens. Funnily enough, that's exactly where she comes from. The white, in this case, represents purity, or new beginnings, as this is the outfit Mythra wears when she first enters the world and is born as the Aegis. This is her beginning, and this is the life she is immediately thrusted into. The black in her design serves to make the white pop out more and put further emphasis on the inner power that Mythra possesses that others see as dangerous, much the same as her brother Malos. And if we look at Malos, the difference between the two is that Malos is drenched head to toe in all black, not a single inch of white on his design. Now, typically, black in character design represents evil, darkness, or death. But in the case of Mythra, Malos, Pyra, and Numa, black represents power. Power like a judge in the real world, the symbiote suit, Luke in episode 6, the Black Ranger, or the Berserker armor. The more black you have in your design, the more powerful you're supposed to be. And if we take a look at the amount of black represented on each character in order from least to most, it goes Pyra, Mythra, Numa, then Malos. You know what that also corresponds to? The level of power each character holds, as Numa wasn't able to put an end to Malos herself without the help of the rest of the cast. The black on Mythra's outfit represents her power and how it relates to Malos, someone drenched in black. A constant reminder that the power she wields is the same world-destroying power used by Malos in the events of Torna, that she now has the chance to use in a way to help the world and make up for her mistakes. Mythra's character in the story is presented as this unstable weapon. Our first introduction of her is that she is the reason that so many continental titans fell to the depths of the Cloud Sea. And even in Torna, our first instance of her is that she could easily and carelessly nuke Jin and Laura off the face of the earth. The reason why we even meet Pyra before her is because she is a weakened version of Mythra, only having some of the power Mythra wields. And that was on purpose. A decision made by Mythra when she sealed herself away to escape the world and her trauma. For she had spent so much of the events of Torna being feared and chastised for her power that she decided to leave the world with a weaker version of herself, one that didn't possess enough power to hurt it like she did. While we're on the topic of Pyra though, this is where I would like to point out the main reason why I love Mythra's character design, because I can't talk about it without comparing it to Pyra's. If we look at Mythra and her design as a whole, and especially looking at her concept art design in which she actually had angel wings on her costume, it's clear that what they were going for was an emissary from the heavens, sent to meet and fight Malos. Mythra, in the story, is essentially sent down from heaven by God to deliver the people of Alrest from suffering under Malos' hand. This works into her design as this angelic figure, sent by God to fight the dark figure, carrying with him pain and suffering that we find in Malos. Now let's look at Pyra's design. In comparison to Mythra's more angelic representation with the white on gold and her fair skin and blonde hair, Pyra appears more demonic and devilish from her red, because that is how the public perception of the Aegis has changed. Over the years since the Great Aegis War, people learned to fear the Aegis and, as Dromark says, conflate their countenances. This is why there's so much confusion as to how many continents which Aegis felled. With the 500 years passing, most people say that Mythra felled 3 titans, Torna, Specia, and Sia, when of course she only felled 1.
The power to sunder Alrest itself. I cannot allow that to happen again.
Pyra destroyed the world. Don't be so stupid.
You mean you didn't know? 500 years ago, during the Aegis War, the Aegis sank 3 continents to the Cloud Sea's bed.
3 titans destroyed.
Over the course of 500 years, information becomes blurry, as there's not many people left to tell it. The only ones we have to rely on being a Malthus who most definitely spun the narrative that Mythra felled the titan he destroyed, which was Specia. But over the years, the malice of Malos has bled into Pyra's representation and public image as the Aegis. If Malos is dead, then someone has to continuously take the blame for the Aegis War that destroyed the world. And unfortunately, that falls onto Pyra. Her public image reflecting in her design is this more devilish red, when she's anything but evil, of course.
So when we put the 2 of them side by side, we can see one is an angel-like figure, while the other is this demonic side. 2 halves of a whole.
Further continuing on looking at Pyra's design in a more metaphorical sense, after Mythra fells Torna by mistake, with all the blood on her hands and all the pain and suffering she has caused, is it not telling that the person she manifests to take the blame and deal with her mistakes and her trauma is drenched head to toe in nothing but red? The red of Pyra's design, when we put it next to Mythra, is representative of the blood on the Aegis' hands, that now Pyra is forced to carry on her shoulders and bear the burden and guilt of felling Torna and affecting the lives of everyone who was caught in the crossfire of Mythra's unconscious rampage. Think of it as something similar to what happened to Kratos when he killed his family in the original God of War. The people Mythra killed, their remnants permanently etched upon her skin, clothes, and hair to paint her red. A permanent reminder and permanent constant shame of her sins and what she had done that unfortunately Pyra was chosen to carry the weight and guilt for. Now, when we put them side by side, we can see some differences between the 2 of their outfits. Mythra wears a short-cut dress that ends in a sort of tennis skirt at the bottom with exposed shoulders and arm guards that run up her forearms. Along with her arm guards, her hips are covered by more armor as well, and the center of her chest is left open and exposed. As for Pyra sports a top that covers the front and back of her torso entirely, with the sides cutting off past her rib cage, along with booty shorts and stockings. It should be mentioned, if we're leaning into the aspect of Pyra carrying the burden of guilt from Torna, that only one of these 2 has the proper shoulder armor to carry metaphorical weight on their shoulders. But as you can tell, both characters seem to have a mix match of exposed bits from their armor. However, when we look at Numa, their combined form, Numa is covered neck to toe in armor. Without the other, their armor is incomplete. Do you see where I'm getting at? Their designs are so exposed because they are splitting a body. Their designs work as foreshadowing for Numa, and Pyra's design works as foreshadowing for Mythra, to show that not only are they incomplete people literally, but figuratively as well. These are women who have been through a lot of trauma and are missing some pieces, but even still, they persist and live on, even if they are unable to attain their true form in Numa, for the time being, of course. This is a masterful display by Saito of their talent for character design that, unfortunately, over the years has been misunderstood and relegated to purely sex appeal for the sake of it. And unfortunately, there are moments in this game which encourage this thought and idea that these characters are only here to be ogled at. If I'm being honest though, I think someone we can compare Mythra and Pyra's objectification to is actually Tifa. If you've ever played Final Fantasy VII or are aware of the Italian Senate incident, you would know the reputation Tifa holds, despite being such a well-written, humanized character. Sound familiar? Tifa is written to be a consistently caring, gentle figure, with an emphasis on her feelings towards others as opposed to the emphasis on her body or her clothes. And yet, most people look past that and her character as a whole to objectify and further sexualize her, creating mods to further strip her of her humanity and emphasize her body to relegate her to nothing more than eye candy. This, again, is a problem that Mythra herself faces, and most of it is admittedly due to her design. As much as I just went on praising Saito, I have to be fair and admit that they may have gone too far in a few places, to say the very least. Mythra's design isn't helped by the many times the camera looms on her body as well to get the monkey stimulation going, but obviously the person who suffers from this is Mythra, not Saito. It's her, and by extension the game's reputation, that sinks because of the way she was designed. People struggle to even give her a chance to shine because of her design. They look at her on the surface and unfortunately see something like Eve from Stellar Blade, just pure Gunnar bait with nothing underneath. But as we have discussed, there is so much more to Mythra than just Gunnar bait, and a lot of the damage done to Mythra's image is made up for her in her story. Which brings me to... Now that we've been able to shine a light on Mythra's design and her role in the story, I'd like to deliver some background information on characters related to Mythra. You see, I can sit here and babble on about why Mythra is a good character because she overcame her trauma all day, which is true, but me telling you that doesn't mean anything unless I can fully convey what that trauma was and why it was such a mountain for her to climb, to overcome her past and to learn to open herself up once more. When we talk about trauma, it can mean a lot of things to different people, all of varying levels of gravity and effect. For example, one can be traumatized because they woke up to a spider on their face one morning, while another could be traumatized because they saw their family be murdered in front of them. Both are traumatic events, but I think it's reasonable to say one is easier to tackle and overcome than the other. Mythra's trauma, however, is so deep-rooted into her character that she tried to exit the world and sub out with Pyra just to escape it all. So it's important to fully deep dive into her trauma, explain what exactly happened to her throughout her journey of self-love and acceptance on her way to Numa, and the people that affected and were direct causes of her trauma along the way, starting with...
Do you remember?
So, to fully explain Mythra's trauma, why she acts the way she acts, we're going to have to go back. Way back to before Mythra was even conceived, to Adam. Adam Origo was Mythra's original driver, but the reason why I'm starting this with him is because as her original driver, Adam had the most influence upon her out of anyone. His influence manifested physically with their shared eye color as well as being imprinted in her personality. Imprinting is a major theme in Xenoblade 2, especially with drivers and blades, and we see this most prominently with Mythra's counter, Malos, who gained his hatred of humanity from his imprinting with his driver, Amalthus. So, let me ask this question. What exactly did Adam imprint onto Mythra? Was it his heroism, his bravery, his tactical mind, the aforementioned piercing, beautiful eyes? What if I told you it was Adam's insecurity? Adam was an equally complex man, the bastard son of the Tornan king, constantly belittled by his family for being born of another mother. Adam was not the perfect man we see him portrayed as in main game Xenoblade 2 and the plays and retellings. Adam was a man with the world on his shoulders, and that burden was only further weighed down upon him as the rest of the royal bloodline was unable to bond with Mythra, leaving the awakening of her core to him and saving the world from Malos as his responsibility as well. Now, it's important to say that anyone, regardless of their birthright, regardless of their achievements, would feel some amount of pressure being faced with stopping a world-ending threat. In the moments up to Adam bonding with Mythra, I'd like to try and jump into his head and gain his perspective. Now, we see Malos, a blade who originated from an Indoline quester, a professional from a holy architect-worshipping titan. By all means, on paper, a good, non-violent man. And yet, even with Amalthus's perfect public image, he still managed to bring someone like Malos into the world, one so full of hatred and contempt, from a man who, in Adam's eyes, had nowhere near the capacity of violence to bring something like Malos into the world. Now, let's look back at Adam, a soldier, leader of a homegrown militia, someone who sees violence and lives through it daily. Between the two of them, who do you think would be most likely to imprint violent tendencies upon this world-destroying blade? That's what Adam is thinking in the moments leading up to bonding with Mythra. His insecurities as someone who has never bonded with the blade before, let alone an Aegis, overtake him as he struggles to have faith with himself while Mythra's core resonates with him. Until finally, Mythra, the perfect counter to stop Malos's rampage, is brought into the world. Because this is Mythra's first time experiencing the world as compared to other blades who live and die subconsciously, retaining previous bits of their personality formed from their previous interactions with the world, she is even more impressionable and in even more need of a guiding hand. Blades like Jin and Bridget, who I will talk about shortly, were both afforded the luxury of time and nurture throughout their many lives. This is what Jin speaks of when he says Mythra is lacking in compassion.
I think it's blades like you that are rare.
Well, duh. You do know what I am, right?
Lacking in compassion.
Huh?
Blades like you really are a rare sight. That may be for the best.
He's meaning to say she is immature and can't properly understand humans and blades. And I mean, yeah, why would she be able to? She was brought into the world and immediately labeled as a weapon, the anti-Malos measure sent by God. But because she was immediately thrust into the role of savior, Mythra was not allowed the appropriate time to receive a guiding hand and learn about the world. What she did get was an inexperienced driver who did not have the capacity to deal with the blade with her power and influence. What she got was an overbearing father figure who didn't understand or meet her needs or allow her to feel heard. We can see this treatment play out in the post-battle quotes of Torna, like right here.
Yeah, Mythra's MVP again.
I beg to differ, because to me, it seemed like they had you surrounded.
Huh? No way, I wiped the floor with them before you could even blink.
We've enough fighting to be getting on with, Mythra. Do we really need this petty rivalry?
I want to draw attention to Adam's line and how this would feel in Mythra's head. Adam specifically calls out Mythra for having a petty rivalry, when it was Bridget who antagonized her and was the source of this short conflict. To Mythra, she is being blamed for and chastised for something that she didn't cause. Her driver is asking her specifically, not Mythra and Bridget, only Mythra. Only Mythra as to if they need this petty rivalry, treating her as if she is this problem and needs to be scolded. This, along with the way Adam treats Mythra in the in-game cutscenes, such as right here.
Please, don't mistake her. Despite the attitude, she's a good kid.
The hell is with that tone? Where do you get off acting all parental?
Leaves Mythra to feel belittled for being herself, discouraged to speak up, and that the people around her don't understand her. They see her as a little kid. It's only ever one way or the other. They see her as a child or they see her as a weapon, but not as a person. And again, ultimately, Mythra feels like she doesn't have her own voice. We see this as well in the cutscene right after they visit Amalthus, where she says,
Don't you think they're worth saving?
If you think they are, you know you'll have my aid.
Even if you disagree?
That's not for the likes of me to decide.
If we compare Adam and Mythra's relationship to that of Laura and Jin, or even Rex and Mythra, the major difference we can immediately find is that the good driver-blade relationships are based upon equality and treating your partner as your equal. What causes Adam to fail as a driver is the fact that he chooses to try and place himself above Mythra as a parental figure. He tries to hold power over her, which leads to the imbalance we see in their dynamic. And throughout the game, this parenting method continuously fails to suffice for both Adam and Mythra. Adam doesn't think about Mythra. Adam just wants to defeat Malos and be done with the whole fight. But in his quest for this war to end, he fails to think of what will happen to Mythra. Because he doesn't see her as a person, he sees her as a burden and responsibility.
Hey. What are we going to do if we defeat Malice anyway?
You know. Like I told Hugo, go home and work the land. I didn't get to harvest the Grom rice this year.
Well, that might be good enough for you. Some others might not be too pleased with that.
By the end of the game, Adam's patience has worn thin with Mythra, to say the very least. And after the death of Hugo and the fall of Torna, Adam no longer has the capacity to see and treat Mythra as human. He fears her and what she is capable of. She stops being this girl in need of a guiding hand, and in his eyes, she molds into this bomb that can explode again at any moment. We can even see this in Adam's body language in the scene of Mythra's total collapse. Throughout the entire cutscene, Adam stays away, far away from Mythra, no longer seeing her as his responsibility, no longer wishing to deal with her. As a matter of fact, out of all the remaining cast members, Adam is the farthest away from her as she watches the results of her blackout in real time while Torna sinks to the cloud sea in front of her. This symbolizes just how truly disconnected Adam is from her. And then suddenly, Laura calls out to Mikhail. A sudden burst of life returns to Mythra's eyes, a hope that maybe not all is lost. Maybe she didn't mess everything up. Only for that hope to be as extinguished as the light in Mikhail's eyes as he looks at Mythra with nothing but contempt for killing his friend. Mikhail holds Milton's lifeless body in his arms, still protecting him in death. And it is only here where Adam starts to step in. Not because he cares about Mythra's emotional well-being, not because he doesn't want her to confirm Milton is dead, but because he's scared she will explode again and sink the rest of the Tornan populace along with her. Astonished and without a word, Mythra reaches her hand out to feel Milton's cold skin, needing to confirm the worst, needing to know if what she is seeing is real, needing to know if she really did take the life of her little brother. Only for her to be shunned and treated as the monster she tried so desperately to stop in all of her short life from the moment she was thrust into this world, by one of the very children she wanted to protect and save nonetheless. It's all too much. It's all too much. It can't be right. It must be some sort of nightmare that she'll wake up from soon enough, right? She stumbles backwards any farther than she would have flung herself off overboard until she's stopped by Adam. But this halting isn't one of comfort. It's not him trying to empathize or protect her. It's one of fear. Notice how Adam grabs her shoulder arm guards instead of her shoulders, which are clearly free to be held. One who cared about her would have hugged her. But Adam holds her back by her armor as if he's afraid to even touch her, let alone comfort her. This lack of proper emotional support does not help Mythra, and as we know, leads to her exit from the world and her exit from...
You can join in, you know.
What's that?
You don't need to ostracize yourself for being an Aegis.
That's not what I'm...
I happen to think you've got a lot going for you, you know?
Throughout Torna, Mythra's rougher, unpolished personality tends to clash with the rest of the cast. This is to be expected as blades like Jin, Rigid, Aegeon, and most likely Minoth, considering he wasn't as strongly imprinted upon by Amalthus, have had many drivers bond with them prior, and as such have had lifetimes of polish to sharpen them and their personalities to be more knowledgeable about the world around them. However, something unique, and as Jin puts it, rare about Mythra is that her unpolished personality is given room to evolve and change over the course of both Torna and Xenoblade 2. Mythra specifically, out of both main casts of both games, is afforded the most screen time to change and grow as a person. This is why we get to see such a good glimpse into Mythra's character and how she changes, grows, and evolves over the course of her 2 games. With the extra screen time Mythra gets, we're allowed to further deep dive into her, see her experiences, retell the events through her eyes. This doesn't come with ease, though. As we know in Torna, the events of the game utterly traumatize and destroy her to the point that she casts herself away from the rest of the world, metaphorically and later literally out of her own guilt. She grows to care about all rest, blades, drivers, even the companions who weren't equipped to be a proper family for her. Which brings me to a part of this video essay that I don't see a lot of people really notice all that much when playing Torna, which is, to be blunt, the original Torna group are kind of all dicks. Now, wait, I know that sounds bad. It's a pretty bold claim to make, but let me explain. So, as we've discussed, Mythra being rough around the edges tends to bring tension in the party from the other members. The problem with this is the other party members' treatment of her. Even as she grows and learns at a honestly pretty rapid rate throughout the game, the rest of her comrades never ease up on chastising and admonishing her. Now, this would be partially understandable, as admittedly the younger Mythra can be a bit
lacking in compassion.
Huh?
However, when the rest of her party acts the same way to her, again in Jin's own quote, lacking compassion towards her, a problem arises from their hypocrisy. A brand spanking new blade brought into the world for the very first time, essentially an inexperienced child soldier being used and pressured as the savior of humanity. And the only thing that can stop her brother who's been going around murking people. And with all that pressure and lack of real-world experience, the people around her sure seem to be lacking in compassion themselves, as we will see. We'll go into examples from the cutscenes in a moment, but for now, I want to look at an often overlooked and sometimes talked over aspect of the game, the post-battle quotes. Now, the post-battle quotes are a mixed bunch of emotions. Normally you'd be hearing your party members talking about the fight, being glad it's over, planning on what to do next, things like that. But something consistent across the post-battle quotes in Torna is a blatant disrespect and overall negative attitude towards Mythra. Even in post-battle quotes that don't include lines and interaction from Mythra herself. Let's take this Laura and Bridget quote for instance and break it down real quick.
Ha ha! Eat that! All right, who else wants some?
Now, Laura, that sounds like something Mythra would say.
Oh gosh, you're right. Sorry, won't happen again.
Pretty nothing burger on the surface, right? Maybe a bit of teasing in reference to Mythra's self-confidence. Teasing is one thing, but it's another when that teasing becomes plentiful, as well as the fact that this conversation is made entirely behind Mythra's back. And as you can see from these handy-dandy JPEGs I've collected of other post-battle quotes, this quote teasing easily leads into bullying and mocking the more of it there is. So, going back to this post-battle quote, Bridget specifically is implying that acting like Mythra or sounding like her is a bad thing, as if she's correcting Laura's manners at the dinner table. Something she should know by now is not what you're supposed to do or be like. And Laura in turn responds in agreement, both parties unanimously agreeing it's bad to behave like Mythra and in turn mocking her. Another common trend in the post-battle quotes is Laura and Adam having to step in to cool tensions throughout the party when conversations with or in regards to Mythra occur, such as what we just talked about with the battle quote earlier and this one between Mythra, Jin, and Laura. As far as this battle quote with Jin,
With me here, it was obvious we were gonna win.
Presumptuous, aren't you?
What was that now?
Easy now, guys. We're all friends here.
already we can sense the immediate air of hostility from Jin. He is not a fan of Mythra's gloating, but instead of showing compassion and patience to a new blade barely born into the world, he insults her, calling her presumptuous, meaning of a person's behavior that is failing to observe the limits of what is permitted or appropriate. Ironic. If Jin was someone who truly cared about compassion and understanding towards Mythra, would it not be safe to say that he would take a more compassionate approach to reprimanding her? All his comment does is fan the flames of tension. And while I understand that some people can have limits to other people's attitudes, it is fair to say that with someone like Mythra, there needs to be patience, there needs to be boundaries, there needs to be understanding that this person is not as well equipped to deal with social situations as I am. This person has not been around the world as much as I have. This person has not developed the necessary skills to understand that the way that they're maybe talking or acting is not really the way that you should. But Mythra is not afforded that luxury by the Tornacast. All his comment does is fan the flames of tension, and Jin is mature enough to know that Mythra wouldn't respond well to being insulted like that. And apparently their argument gets so heated, Laura has to step in to remind them that, quote, "We're all friends here." Very interesting how she has to remind Mythra of that through her words, but can't do it through her actions, as I don't believe speaking poorly behind someone's back is what friends do. The main correlation between these two battle quotes is that they start with Mythra and her own air of self-confidence, not talking to anyone in particular, more so a rhetorical remark made out loud. Her remarks aren't more to her party, rather they are to the enemies they defeated. She's gloating, yes, but it's not in a way to insult her party members or relegate them to being weaker than her. She's calling her enemies weak, and yet the rest of her party takes this personally. And both the remarks she makes are followed by one of the other blades jumping in unprompted and antagonizing her over her self-confidence, which is then followed by a driver trying to take control of the situation and ease tension between the two blades. Already we can tell that Mythra's relationship with the rest of the Tornacast is shaky at best, But with Adam specifically, we see the power imbalance between the two throughout the game. This is where the root of Mythra's conflict with Adam lies, why Jin specifically mentions that Adam is not the right driver for her, and why Rex is able to bring Numa forth from the Aegis and Adam never could. Adam is trying to be Mythra's dad. In child-parental relationships, there's always inherently an imbalance and inequality between the two people. The parent has power over the child as their guardian, of course. That makes sense. However, inequality is not what Mythra, or any blade for that matter, needs from their driver. This is the reason why Jin and Laura make such a good pair. They respect and acknowledge each other as equals. Jin is not her dad, Laura is not his daughter. They are partners and treat each other as such. Admittedly, Adam fell into this line of thinking fairly easily, and it's not hard to see why. Unlike Jin, who's already been molded by the world and previous drivers to become a capable and understanding blade, Mythra is a brand new blade, and the Aegis at that. This was Adam's very first blade that he bonded with. Both sides of their driver-blade dynamic, being complete novices, provides room for ineptitude and lack of proper understanding and communication between each other. Add on to this the fact that the only experience Adam has with another Aegis is Malos and his overwhelming continental-destroying power. You can see why Adam would want to put himself above her in authority instead of being her equal. It's because he was afraid of her. From the moment he bonded with her and his insecurities rooted themselves within Mythra, to the moment he lost control of her in the fight of Torna, Adam never truly was able to trust his blade. He was never able to have confidence in himself that he could control her, nor confidence in her that she wouldn't turn up just like Malos. And that's something shared between him and the rest of the party. The air of mistrust is apparent, and a silent shared agreement between everyone that Mythra is to be kept at arm's length at all times. Ultimately, the downfall of the Torna group is their lack of patience with Mythra, their lack of understanding that this person was only just brought into the world, that she has next to no idea how to properly navigate it or how to even talk to other people. I mean, why do you think she has a whole affinity chart called Girls Talk, where literally the only thing you do is talk to people? It's because she doesn't know how to talk to people. She has to learn these things, but she's not afforded that time by the game or her cast. And that's the tragedy of it all. Mythra has so much potential, and it's right there. But it's all cut short by Torna. The Aegis' reputation sinks along with Torna, and because of that, her name is forever stained by blood. In Torna, Mythra is not allowed to show herself as a person. Mythra stops being able to be seen as human, stops being able to see herself as human because of her actions, to the point that she just gives up. She subs out. She can't take it anymore. She can't afford to deal with this. And it's such a shame, because even within Torna, we see the monumental progress Mythra displays in the short time she's allowed.
Whoever did this clearly had no compassion or respect for the people they killed.
Well, whether it was Malos or someone else, either way, clearly they're all toast.
Mythra. Look, fresh graves over here.
This kind soul must have dug them all.
What's wrong?
Should we maybe bury him too?
Huh? Yes, let's.
Mythra is not an uncaring or unkind person. She just hasn't had the luxury of comfort and emotional support that everyone else in Torna is accustomed to. To Mythra, her perspective is hardened by the battles she fights daily. It's harder for her to associate life with anything but just a number because Adam didn't give her the proper emotional support she needed. That is, until we see her connection with Milton deepened. We see how she cares for her little brother and how she tries to form a connection with others. The problem was that much like her driver, the people she was surrounded by simply weren't the best match for her. They had already made their mind up about Mythra and were not open to change. Milton, being the only character who could really speak Mythra's language and reach her, inevitably only serves to make her trauma worse, as she considers herself directly responsible for killing him, but also, by extension, Hugo, Bridget, and Aegeon. By the end of the fight against Malos, the only person Mythra feels she is able to talk to is Adam, and I've already discussed his feelings on that matter. It's clear that tensions are usually high whenever Mythra is around, and this doesn't really get better with time despite Mythra's growth in Torna. The rest of the party still see her as an immature nuisance instead of showing her, let's say it together, compassion. There is an underlying stretch of resentment towards Mythra shown by most of the cast in the game, whether that be her cooking, her confidence, her attitude, her uncontrolled power, or... Wait. Are you beginning to realize something? All these traits that are mocked and ridiculed upon by Torna, they are all related to the differences between Mythra and Pyra. Pyra's existence serves as physical proof of the lasting effects of the words of the Torna cast. All the bullying, mocking, teasing, it all rooted itself far below Mythra's skin and formed as insecurities that she began to hate herself for and saw as negatives. All that bullying, all that mocking, all that teasing, it got to her. And we see that in Pyra. We see this quote-unquote perfected version of herself. This version of herself that she thinks she has to be. The way I like to describe Mythra and Pyra's relationship and their differences is actually a pretty odd example, but it's close to something like the episode Rest and Relaxation from Rick and Morty. If you haven't seen it, the basic premise is that the titular characters go to a spa in outer space that removes their negative traits and attributes. The twist? These are the negative traits that they associate with themselves, not what society or others around them deem as their negatives. So, for example, Morty's positives and negatives are split, leaving Morty to be a successful Wall Street tycoon with his own apartment and partner, having eliminated his perceived weaknesses and setbacks. Meanwhile, Rick's perceived negative traits are his empathy, something that to you and me wouldn't qualify as negative, but to him would. All the negative traits that Mythra saw within herself were removed and replaced by positive versions in Pyra. But even this last-ditch effort to show the world that Mythra didn't want to hurt it had no effect, as her driver Adam made the decision to seal away Pyra and Mythra from the world, even after the more problematic Aegis had seen herself out. While I have very mixed feelings on Adam and the way he treated Mythra, as we do get to see more empathetic and kinder moments sprinkled throughout the game from him, this act of sealing Pyra away screams not my problem, as Adam's fears and unwillingness to connect to the Aegis take over and prevent him from trying again. These fears prevent him from using this chance to become a better driver and better pair for the Aegis. Instead, he chooses to throw that chance for growth aside and refuses to take the proper time to connect with the Aegis. Remember, Adam has essentially treated the Aegis like his daughter for the entire game. So to Mythra and now Pyra, this is her father figure essentially disowning her and banishing her to never be seen again. For as we know, Adam has long since passed away when we get to the events of main game Xenoblade 2, where Pyra and Mythra both reawaken. This separation is the last thing any father figure should ever do when someone needs support the absolute most. Giving up is something a parent should absolutely never do to their child. He lost hope and trust, and he decided that this problem was simply no longer his to deal with anymore. So, Mythra not only made the fatal mistake of losing control of herself, having her little brother killed in a fight she felt responsible for, and lost the little remaining trust of her closest allies, but on top of all that, she was entirely abandoned by her father figure, even after she tried her best to leave the world with a better, safer version of herself. And this choice is not something that only affects Mythra. It is a decision with ginormous ramifications, considering that the entire reason why Adam wasn't in Specia to help evacuate Jen, Laura, Mikhail, and Hayes is because he was too busy sealing away his daughter. If Adam hadn't been selfish, if Adam hadn't been so distrusting of his own blade, he would have been in Specia, and they would have all had a fighting chance to make it out alive and unharmed with the power of the Aegis Pyra by their side. Adam is the reason why Mythra is so scared and afraid of love. Adam is the reason why Mikhail was tortured and experimented on. Adam is the reason why Hayes was captured by the Quester. Adam is the reason why Jen ate Laura's heart. But I need to give him some credit. Even through his mistakes and methods of being a driver for Mythra, Adam did at the end of the day want the best for Mythra, at least at the start of their journey. Out of the entire Torna cast, by far, he is in Mythra's corner the most, or at least tries to be. I've used a lot of my time in this script pointing out the flaws in Adam and the flaws in his treatment towards Mythra, but there is a reason why she holds him so dear to her heart, even 500 years later. Why seeing Tatazo and Tora reunite stirs memories of her own relationship with her father figure Adam and brings her to tears. The reason why Mythra felt such a special connection to Adam was because, although not as much as Rex, Adam still had moments of understanding with Mythra.
How dare he speak to me like that? He thinks he knows me.
Course is the word.
Yeah, he is.
I meant you.
Me?
He meant you're unpolished. After you return to your core, you lose your memories. However, as you gain experience with people, gradually the nature of a blade, rather their feelings, they change and grow. You become more and more human. But you purposely keep yourself apart.
Oh, so now it's my fault?
No, not at all. I respect that part of you.
Adam was able to see that Mythra's coarse exterior was something unique and special to her. That maybe not everyone will appreciate it, but it's something that sets her apart from everyone else in a good way. A flaw to some, but something that others may see as merely a personality trait, maybe even charming. I've spent most of my time trying to see the events of Torna through Mythra's eyes alone instead of Adam. And I think that despite his shortcomings and failures, it would be unfair of me to not allow Adam to have his own chance to be heard when I'm giving Mythra such a large platform. I think that Adam did want to care for Mythra, but ended up biting off more than he could chew. And because of the pressure of being the hero of Torna and failing to live up to that title because of her actions, he simply just took advantage of the situation and wanted to move the hell on, not have to deal with the whole thing anymore. And while that may have been a selfish decision, it's an understandable choice to make. But unlike Adam, Rex had a group of people that did not allow him to just give up on Mythra. Rex had a proper support group that truly cared about one another, as you don't find such hostility in the main game group that you do in Torna. This was something well practiced within the main game group. They were able to hear and listen to one another. But all that Adam could do was try to look deeper. He could never take the time to use both senses to listen and look. It all revolves and ties into him and this one vital, fatal decision to not try again. This is what defines the difference between Adam and Mythra's true driver: the ability to listen, the ability to care and understand, the ability to sit down and empathize with someone. In a word, compassion. And of course, there's one very special shining beacon of understanding and empathy in this game that exemplifies that specific trait of compassion, which we find in
Sorry to interrupt, but the video is actually a two-parter. So the Mythra video, as I've called it, was originally supposed to be a 40-minute long full-blown expose video essay on why you should love Mythra as a character, why you should enjoy her and see all the awesome good bits about her. And that's what it was. I set out to do that. I set out to make a 40-minute long video specifically, trying to show the audience, people who maybe didn't get to look as deep into Xenoblade as I did, people who maybe didn't even play Torna, people who only know her from Smash Bros. I wanted to make a video where you are, you have your eyes open a bit more. I'm sorry for these pauses. I'm completely off script for this, but I wanted to make a video specifically for those people to give her a second chance in their eyes and to show the world why I love Mythra a lot. And as you may have noticed, this segment before, it does transition into the next chapter. That is because this is a first of two-parter video. So yeah, this is the I know that's crazy to say, it's 40 something minutes long, and I'm saying it's half, Yes, it is going to be part of an even larger video that I am in the midst of making. I've already started, producing it. What happened was that, it's the end of the summer and I'm about to move back into my on-campus apartment. And when I do that, the mic setup is going to be different. It's going to sound different. And so I didn't want to go and not have the video posted, not have something posted at least, and then continue working on it, and then like halfway through the video you listen to me and like you listen like the mic quality like change. I didn't want to do that. I know that would sound weird, so I wanted to satisfy the people who I know have been very patiently waiting for this Mythra video to drop. I know I announced it like 3 months ago and I've been working on it for that long. This is, like I said at the start of the video, this is the first time I've ever done something like this, especially of this magnitude, like a full-blown like video essay commentary sort of video. It's the first time I've ever done something like this, and I have had a lot of complications and issues and redubbings and all sorts of things, going back in, editing, whatever, and all of it has been done by me as well. I've been very, very busy this summer, despite being broke as hell and unemployed. I've been very busy. But I just wanted to dedicate this part of the video to explain that and tell you to please be on the lookout for the second part that I will be making soon. And this part of the video as well, I wanted to formally thank my dear audio editor friend Hlebes, who did a lot. Well, he did all of the sound balancing so that it didn't sound like this, because this isn't going to be, I'm not going to send this part to him, so this is what the rest of the video would have sounded like. It wouldn't have sounded very good, I saw a huge shout out to dear Hlebes. Shout out to the people who lended me their music, their wonderful, beautiful music, their covers, because for the video, I actually wanted to go out of my way to associate instruments with characters. So Mythra, she has the piano, and then Adam, he has the flute, and Milton has the pan flute, which is what plays for Behelit. And I wanted to specifically use the covers because they did them in those instruments, So huge shout out to them. And yeah, I just wanted to clarify. I didn't want to end the video like, hey, here's the transition, then there's nothing, so I had to put something here. But I would say I'm going to shoot for a late fall release for the Mythra video part 2. It's just because I have a lot going on this semester. This is my second to last semester, so I'm having to play catch up. I'm doing 16 hours, as well as that I'm in a play. On top of that, I have my art career and everything like that. So I am a bit of a busy guy. But in between now and the second part of the Mythra video, I'll be dropping other videos more like the Poppy highway on cutscene on Highway 8 video, where it's script analysis for Xenoblade. So that being said, I'm going to be turning the rest of the channel into more of a Xenoblade focused channel. I intend to do more commentary, more video essay stuff, but the main bulk of it will be Xenoblade. So please look forward to that. Again, I apologize for coming in or interrupting the video to cut it off, but the second part will be coming out. I hope at the very least that this 40-something minutes of Mythra sufficed, and I hope that I've maybe brought about a good change in the viewers and maybe a different mindset, maybe the different perspective. But thank you for watching this far. Thank you so much. I really truly do appreciate that. Thank you. I worked very hard on this, so thank you for that. And do the usual YouTube things. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the second part and all the stuff I'm gonna have Xenoblade related in between this. I have other projects that I can't name right now, but I want to announce soon. So yeah, please stay tuned for that, and I sure do hope that my mic doesn't sound terrible, because the gain is really, really bad on it. So I'm hoping that you can actually hear me when I, put this to, the video. So thank you. As always, have a good day, have a blessed rest of your evening, and I shall see y'all on the flip side.